States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads. This is a very special season, the most special part of the year. We've been given so many blessings this year, each and every single one of us in this room. I ask that we not only reflect on our own lives, I ask that we reflect on the lives of our family and our friends and realize there's always others in greater need than us of ourselves. So take this time, treat it the way it's supposed to be treated, with love, peace, and hope. And whatever your faith or your denomination, it's a holy period. And all this I ask in the Lord's name. Amen.
Okay, first we'll move to the adoption of the minutes, regular meeting minutes of 11/12/24. Mr. Cease, is there any changes to those minutes?
None unless council has any.
Does council have any changes? Is there a motion?
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next is the town council quarterly CIP workshop on 10/15/24. Are there any changes, Mr. Cease?
None unless council has any.
Any changes from council? Is there a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. And next we have the revision of regular meeting minutes of 9/10/24. The highlighted section of the meeting minutes provided in the agenda packet were omitted in error. So that was just a typo. Everybody understand that? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Now we'll move on to presentations, celebrations, and recognitions. Got a bunch of this. Up first, we have Beaufort County School District Character Student of the Month. The Student of the Month is Kendall Brody. She's got a lot of help here, too. You want to come on up? Dr. Corley, good to see you again, as always. Dr. Hennis, hi, over to you. So Kendall is a fourth grade student from Red Cedar Elementary. Kendall is being recognized for the character trait courage and tolerance. Wow. So, Dr. Corley, who?
I'm going to read.
Okay,
Yep,
sir.
all right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Becky Hannis, a school counselor at Red Cedar Elementary. I'm so glad to be here tonight to recognize Kendall Brody, and I would like to tell you a little bit about what her teachers said about her. Kendall is a remarkable young student who has shown unwavering courage in facing one of life's most challenging journeys. Diagnosed with cancer, Kendall has approached the complexities of her illness with resilience, grace, and inspiring positivity that has left a lasting impression on everyone around her. Despite the demands of frequent hospital visits and treatments, Kendall remains committed to her education and participates in school activities whenever possible. Her gentle spirit and strength in the face of these hardships inspire all who are fortunate to know her. Kendall's courage extends far beyond her personal battle. Her resilience and optimism have created a ripple effect throughout her school community, teaching others about kindness, compassion, and the importance of supporting one another. Kendall exemplifies the essence of courage. Whether she is participating in school events or sharing her story, Kendall's bravery serves as a reminder of the true meaning of strength in adversity.
Wow. You want to say anything? or add to that. That was pretty amazing.
Ditto.
So proud of you.
She's inspired.
So, I'd like to give you this. Oh.
It's all good, it's all good.
So, let's get a picture.
You want to get in there with
Okay,
them?
sure.
Okay, perfect.
One blue one.
Okay, excellent.
That's some goodies. Very good. No, only very special people get this, okay? Good job, Ken. Okay, up next, we have National Impaired Driving Prevention Month proclamation. National Impaired Distracted Driving Prevention Month proclamation. Whereas driving on our roadways during the month of December can be a dangerous time, and whereas two of the most celebrated days of the year are Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are known as the most deadly, and whereas December has been recognized as National Impaired Driving Prevention Month by every president since 1981, and whereas alcohol and other drugs, including opioids, marijuana, prescription, and over-the-counter medicines can impair driving, and whereas lack of experience, speeding, use of cell phones, and texting are some of the distractions that can affect the ability to drive. And whereas the Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth and Teens for Healthy Youth are working to raise awareness of the dangers of impaired and distracted driving, and whereas the Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth and Teens for Healthy Youth share our appreciation and support for the Town of Bluffton's Stay Safe Bluffton Driving campaign, which aims to prevent impaired and distracted driving. And whereas Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth Coalition and Teens for Healthy Youth call upon the Town of Bluffton to proclaim December 2024 as Impaired Distracted Driving Prevention Month. Now, therefore, I, Larry Toomer, Mayor of Town of Bluffton, along with Town Council, do hereby proclaim December 2024 as Impaired Distracted Driving Prevention Month in the Town of Bluffton, and urge all citizens to take an active fight against impaired and distracted driving during the holidays and throughout the coming year. So,
Thank
you
you.
want to say something?
Yes, we can.
Sure.
Would you like us to go over to the?
You can probably just, they can hear you, talk loud.
Okay.
Hi, good evening. As youth representatives of the Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth, sorry. As youth representatives of the Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth Community Board and as Teens for Healthy Youth members, we are honored to accept the proclamation proclaiming December as Impaired and Distracting Driving Prevention Month.
We would like to express our gratitude to the mayor and to the town for giving Teens for the Youth the opportunity to participate in Town of Bluffton's annual Christmas parade, which has allowed us to spread awareness on impaired and distracted driving. We are most honored to have received distinction in 2019 as being selected as the co-grand marshals for the Christmas parade due to our role in promoting the Let's E43 Distracted Driving campaign, which is now the Stay Safe Bluffton Driving campaign initiated by former Mayor Lisa Solka in 2023.
Thank you again for urging our citizens to take an active fight against impaired and distracted driving in the community of Bluffton throughout the holidays and in the upcoming new year. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
You want to hold that?
Sure.
Sorry.
Great, okay. Perfect.
Hold on, I take this for Laura, you know, I got this for Laura. That's exactly right, I'm the photographer. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, up next, we've got Best Performance Award winners from the Christmas Parade on Saturday. Up first is Battery Creek High School Marching Band. They're always a crowd favorite at the Bluffton Christmas Parade.
We gotta change it.
Battery Creek has won Best Performance 5 times. The band won this year, and in 22, 19, 18, and 17. The Dolphin Pride Marching Band has participated in the Chicago Thanksgiving Parade twice, in 2019 and 2023. Battery Creek is the only school from the state of South Carolina to participate in this parade. Adding to its accolades, the Dolphin Pride Marching Band has plans to attend Washington, D.C. Independence Day Parade this year, if it all works out, right? Still working on that. The Dolphin Pride Marching Band is the Weston High School Band in Beaufort County School District. Congratulations to each member of this outstanding band for this award and its many accomplishments.
On behalf of the band, my name is Edie and I am part of the Band Booster. They are actually at practice because they have a performance this weekend coming up. So I'm here to accept for them, and we just want to say thank you. Thank you for recognizing these amazing student musicians because they give their all each and every time they go out. And thank you.
Hold your award up. Let me get a
Students change each year, but they keep winning. So
Thank you.
might be the coaches.
Might be.
Okay, up next for the best float is the Spirit of Sebastian Foundation. And I'm not sure if we have any. Oh, okay, great. Come on up here then. Spirit of Sebastian Foundation is a nonprofit foundation. Was created in loving memory of Sebastian Flaco Zimbrón, who fought addiction throughout his life. This foundation supports people who want and are willing to be rehabilitated through this foundation. This organization provides the opportunity for people with addictions to build a better future for themselves and the community drug-free. Thanks to all the folks that helped their neighbors through this challenging journey. Great. You split this up. You get the whole pretty part. You get the whole sounds. Would you like to say anything to?
Sure. On behalf of the Spirit of Sebastian Foundation, and we lost our son Sebastian last year in March. He was born and raised here in the Low Country. He lived all his life here in Bluffton. He graduated from May River High School, and through the pandemic, as we all know, he struggled with the pandemic and he got himself into opiates. And after two attempts to rehabilitate him locally and out here in rehabs, he lost the fight. One night he decided to go back out, and one pill that had too much fentanyl took his life. The pill that he was sold could have taken 3 people's life, so he stood no chance. So in honor of him, my family and I and the members of the board, in the past 18 months, we've managed to put 26 people through rehab with local grants that the community has given us and the support of our town, and most important, the support of our community. So thank you. And this award might mean not a whole lot to a lot of people, but it means the world to us because, all we do is in love and memory of our son Sebastian. So thank you.
And ho, 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 and Merry Christmas.
And he was the Santa Claus in our club.
I worked on it. Okay, up next we have the State of Mind Award. Taylor's Landscape and Supply on this. Do we have anyone here from Taylor?
Not this evening.
Okay, well, Taylor's Landscape Supply Nursery just celebrated its 20th anniversary. It was voted the best garden center in Bluffton for 14 years in a row. Among its allocates, it was also ranked in the top 50 garden centers in North America by Garden Center magazine. The judges said that they thought the Taylor float did a great job of incorporating plants and trees, such as the palmetto tree in its float, which best represented Bluffton. So I guess you'll get that too. Still waiting for it?
Okay. So,
this brings us into public comment, my favorite. During public comment, each speaker is limited to a total of 3 minutes per meeting, regardless of whether the person is speaking on their own behalf or as an agent for others. Meeting attendees may not donate, transfer, yield, or give all of any other portion of their speaking time to another person. All public comments are to be conducted from the podium and directed to the town council as a whole and not to any member thereof. All speakers shall be mindful and respectful of those participating in or present at the meeting. Speakers shall be expected to be civil in their language and shall refrain from comment or behavior that involves disorderly speech or action, name calling, personal attacks, threats, obscene or indecent remarks, and/or disruptive actions. All speakers shall confine their comments to issues under the jurisdiction of this town council. Speakers shall not use the public comment period to promote or advertise awards, businesses, services, goods, or candidates for public office. Any speaker that violates these rules and protocols for public comment may be ruled out of order by the presiding officer, and person whose comments have been ruled out of order shall immediately cease and desist from any farther improper comments. Refusal of an individual to desist from further improper comments might subject the individual to removal from the meeting and/or a citation under Section 2-49 of the Town Code. So, up first we have Ms. Joy Cope.
I wanted to ask a few questions about the workshop. So can I wait and speak? I mean, are you going to be able to ask a question at the end of the, because my questions might be answered by your workshop, so it seems kind of, but no? I'm sorry.
Please state your name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Joy Coe. I live in Rose Hill. And I have some questions about the Willow Run workshop. And mainly it's about the development rights. And on your map, which is I think it's number 4, attachment 4. At the bottom of it, it has a list of the owners. And it says that, Mooney has 18.85 commercial acres. The Southeast Regional has none, and Inland Bluffton LLC has none. And my question is when the Willow Run Development Agreement was done, it also says that the town has 115. When the development agreement was done, the town got 240 houses from Willow Run. They got 90 houses from the Inland Bluffton LLC, which at the time was University Investments. And in exchange, University Investments got 115 acres of commercial. So my question is where did all that go? And then you're going to turn around and buy another 260 houses, 162 commercial, and 2 hotels. So I was just wondering what happened to the original commercial and why the Inland Bluffton doesn't show it has commercial. And then also in your watershed, I forgot what it's called, your watershed strategic planning thing that y'all want to you want to retire development rights within the May River watershed. And the town manager actually has authorization to purchase development rights. So you are going to purchase for $2.5 million of taxpayer dollars the development rights. If the school does not use them, are you going to retire them? Are you going to use them somewhere else in Buckwalter? Or can they be used somewhere else in the whole Bluffton County? Okay, so, and then...
So we don't communicate as far as answering questions like that at public comment, Joy. But
well, could you discuss it at the workshop?
We would be more than willing to set up a time where you could come in and we could answer all that in 5 minutes.
Okay, but could you maybe answer it in your workshop? I mean, do you not know the answers to this?
We'll see.
Mayor, it may show up. She may get her questions answered during the workshop, but you're right. Just you can come in and ask all these questions with staff. And
Certainly.
they will be answered.
And then the last is concerning these development rights. At the end of the Buckwalter Parkway, you gave 70 acres of commercial to a developer, and he didn't have to give up any residential units. And normally, a developer would have to give up 4 to 5 housing units to get 1 acre of commercial. But anyway, he kept the housing rights, so he got that 70 acres, and then now with your annexed property, he's gotten another 28 acres of commercial. And then if y'all put that road through, well, I mean, I guess my question is, if y'all put the road through the north-south connector, which will get to his property, will he be able to buy those development rights from you guys that y'all just bought so he can put in commercial? So,
Hang
anyway.
out for the workshop. I think you'll get a lot of
Okay,
answers.
thank you.
Okay, up next, we have Ms. Sharon Brown.
Good evening, Council. Sharon Brown. I'm at 163 Buck Island Road. I want to start out by saying, Dan, that was a very moving prayer, Councilman, very moving. Your vision statement. Bluffton, the heart of the Low Country, a town that appreciates the past, focuses on today, and is planning together for a greater future. What does the future look like for people of color here in Bluffton? I asked that question once before, and it looks more dire and dire every time we see development going on. And in our part of the roadways, Buck Island, Simmonsville Road, people are allowed to do all type of illegal things, putting trailers in the nighttime in places we call, we get no respect, we get no answers. Then I want to go on to your mission statement. We take care of our citizens. I'm one of them. Y'all take care of me very well by disrespecting me. The town and each other by continuously making our community and organization better. You make things better. So I'm gonna move forward with the town manager job description. It was sent to me, we had a meeting. The meeting was, oh my God. But it says, one of the town manager's job description is the ability to establish and maintain effective working relationship with employees, cities, officials, and the community. That's not happening because when I met with you all, I asked you, Mr. Mayor, and the town manager in reference to, I had a problem with him not responding to me. I said, what is your response time? You couldn't answer that, but he said, this is his exact words, it varies according to how busy I am and what is the topic. I want to know if it varies on how busy he is. His job is to communicate with the community. So I got problems. After 7 months, it took him 7 months to communicate with me and to tell me things that he didn't even investigate. He sent me some little bogus statement about when we talked about Carrie Brown, who came here and asked about when she made phone calls about that trailer. He said there was a permit. It was no permit because I emailed you guys what family member gave me. It came from Mr. Icard. They submitted started the permit but never finished it. So they were able to place their mobile home on that property illegally. My property right next to me, you guys allowed a setup, a mound of sand this high here on this guy's can put his property on so that when the runoff goes, it goes onto my property. Mr. Corral told me that on those unincorporated areas like that, meaning it's not Old Town, people can put as much sand and mount their mobile home up as high as they want to because there's no ordinance. We need to change some things, and especially you guys need to take a look at the town manager's job description. He has too much power to be disrespecting people of color. Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Merry
Ms. Brown.
Christmas.
Okay, we'll move on to communications from mayor and council. We'll start with you, Ms. Frazier. You don't have anything? Ms. Burton?
Oh, you're doing ladies first.
Ladies first, it's the holiday.
I just want to first say, I know Kendall left, but I just want to applaud her and her family, and she's an inspiration to all of us. And as we think about this holiday season, you know, we really do have so much to be thankful for. Another thing is, I think the police is doing their toy drive until tomorrow, so another, giving this time of year, I strongly encourage. That's it.
Mr. Hamilton?
I want to wish everyone in this Advent season, and we call it an expectation of the coming of our Lord and Savior, hope, peace, joy, and please spread the love wherever you go. Thank you.
Mr. Wood?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Councilman Hamilton. That's well said, and that's where my heart is tonight. I hope everybody else is as well. Sometimes we just have to brush aside some of our feelings and just reach out and touch somebody and try to lift them up, and that's what this season's about, part of that. I do want to take just a moment, again, for those who were able to participate or come to the Bluffton Christmas Parade. And if you haven't been to the Bluffton Christmas Parade, you should come. Put it on your bucket list. But I think it's amazing what the staff does. It's lots of planning. It doesn't happen overnight. Even the Christmas lights, I think, take well over a month around the town to get them up. And if you noticed, I had family here this weekend, and I said one of the most astonishing things is the streets will be clean by the time the parade ends. And so, lots of candy got thrown out there. The mayor, he hit more kids with candy than I could count. But no, seriously, it was well done. Staff did a fabulous job, and I just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you, Dan. I just moved faster and threw bigger piles of candy than you did. I always run out of candy. Speaking on the parade, I first want to say how great a job everyone involved did. If someone's got some ideas of how we could make it better, I'll hear them, but I'd kind of be surprised because I think it was as close to perfect as it could be, with the exception of a couple of complaints about closing the roads as early as we did. That was done for a very logical reason. And I'm just going to put it out there so people know we have the bomb squad dogs, sniff dogs, go through the entire parade route before the parade starts to make sure that all of our kids and everybody involved are safe. So it's a little inconvenience, but you can't do that in 5 minutes, and you can't do that after the parade starts because of all the moving objects. And I thought it was a little early as well, so when I got my answer, I said, you know what, that makes perfect sense to me now. Christmas tree lighting went great. It was a freezing night for Santa Claus and to all those kids to get to Santa Claus. So hopefully we'll start that a little earlier next year if it's cold. But anyway, that's all I've got. And I just want to say Merry Christmas to everyone. And let's get this job done. We'll move on to workshop agenda items, direction and input on proposed amendments to the Buckwalter Development Agreement and Concept Plan. To amend provisions related to the requirements pertaining to the infrastructure improvements and overall development of property commonly referred to as Willow Run Tracks. Mr. Kevin Icard.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you. As you stated, we are here for a workshop. And however you'd like to proceed, I can go through the entire presentation, or if you like, you're more than welcome to ask any questions while I'm going through this. So please feel free to stop me on any of these items. This evening, we're here to discuss 3 items. They're kind of interwoven between all of them. The first one will be proposed amendments for the Buckwalter Development Agreement and the Concept Plan. And this is specifically for the provisions for that north-south connector road. We're going to talk about the acquisition of development rights for the 260 RDUs, our residential dwelling units, 162 acres of general commercial, and 2 hotels. And that's associated with the properties, and you'll see this here in a second on a map for the Beaufort County School District that has under contract for Willow Run. And then our portion of that would be for the purchase of those development rights for $2.5 million. And then an exchange of town-owned property or a land swap of properties that's owned by the town potentially with the Beaufort County School District, consisting of 10 upland acres that would front onto 278. So from an introduction standpoint, I've highlighted here in orange, this is what we refer to as the Willow Run tract. And it's a total of 4 parcels. 3 of them are owned by Indian Hill Associates, who has a contract with Beaufort County School District to purchase these properties. And you can see that we own the 19.755 acres to the south. That was part of the donation requirements associated with the 9th Amendment of the Development Agreement. So this encompasses all of the Willow Run tract. So as I stated, Beaufort County School District is looking to purchase this. At this time, they've stated a potential of a lower school, a K-8, a potential middle school, athletic fields, courts, administrative offices, and additional structures. So we don't know the full extent as to what they're proposing, but they've kind of listed these items as what they're looking to do. And the town-owned property, and again, stop me if you have any questions. The town-owned property that we have, we've had this part of that 9th agreement, which included a portion when it was donated that was specifically for affordable housing, and that's that 3.77 acres. And an additional 8 acres of upland was provided for municipal site. So other uses that could be in there would be included through that Buckwalter Commons land use tract. So from an aerial standpoint, try to give some perspective here of this property. Again, you can see to the north is 278 Eagles Point, Station 35. To the east, we have what we refer to as the Mooney Tract. That's the adjacent property that does commercial rights. On the other side of them is Rose Hill. And then the small sliver at the bottom, that's the reserve at Woodbridge. That is the apartment complex that has access through Woodbridge off of Buckwalter Parkway. So some background information. I think this is one of the concerns that had kind of been brought up during public comment. So 1996, we're going back pretty far here. Beaufort County, they adopted an ordinance for Indian Hill, which was referred to as the Willow Run PUD. So again, this was in the county, unincorporated at the time in 1996. And that had 590 residential dwelling units and 7.4 acres of commercial. So in 2003, Indian Hill petitioned with the town to be annexed in. And when they did, they came in as the Willow Run PUD. So it was his own PUD at the time with a development agreement. So that's where we get into this second iteration where the town annexed the property in 2003 and gave them the rights of the 500 RDUs, 210,000 square feet of general office, 250,000 square feet of retail. So when the third iteration, so that annexation, it had the Willow Run PUD, they requested to come into the Buckwalter PUD. So in essence, what happens is any of those rights were just, they go away. They go away, and then they were assigned rights in the Buckwalter PUD. And that's where we are today. So this Buckwalter PUD in 2008 was created, and that was part of the 9th Amendment. So when we talk about things, every time you have to change that development agreement, you have to do an amendment. So part of that was, again, the 260 RDUs, 162 acres of general commercial, and 150 hotel units. And I've got a map here that I'm going to show in just a second that kind of outlines a little bit more information. But we're going to talk about the obligations. So again, that 9th Amendment, we talk about the properties being donated. So I've highlighted number 4 here. This is the properties that were donated, which was the 3.7 acres and 8 acres of uplands. And then one of the other obligations was the right-of-way and construction of that north-south connector. So there's a relocatable 80-foot easement that's on that Mooney tract. And it begins at 278 and it runs all the way to south to the future parkway. So during those obligation standpoints, these properties were actually all under one property owner. The issue that we have now is that we have multiple property owners that still are required or still obligated to meet that north-south connector. The next issue is dealing with construction. So you've probably seen this portion of the concept plan where it says the A parcel, B parcel, C parcel, and you're phasing aspects to it. Well, so to break it down for phase one, so if there's any development that happens in parcel B, you're required to build the roadway that's shown, that's highlighted in yellow. So from 278 to the southern boundary of that Willow Run track is it's triggered by that issuance of a final development plan. So that's for phase one. And then phase two begins at the southern boundary of Willow Run and the future parkway, and is triggered by an issuance of a final development plan of any portion of A and or C. So we own property in C. So if we were to develop in C, then we would be obligated to construct that portion of the connector road. So what happens here is that these obligations, while they were put in place in 2008, it's extremely difficult for anyone to be able to develop this site. They've had this on the market for quite some time. We've had numerous individuals that come in and have talked to staff like, hey, we're interested in doing this. And we tell them, like, you're going to have to build this road. And then they typically just walk away because it's a cost that's just unbearable and they would lose money. So that's where we are today. So Beaufort County School District approached the town. They were interested in purchasing this property. They felt that it was a suitable site for the needs that they have in the future. And the way that we have it set up in the PUD document is that a school does not need development rights to construct their site. So these development rights were associated with this Willow Run track. So the 260 RDUs, the 162 acres of general commercial, and then the two 150-unit hotels. So that's where they came to the town asking to partner with us, and that's where we're under our agreement with that the MOU that we have, and it's part of one of the attachments, was the $2.5 million would go towards the purchasing of those, give to the school district for the purchasing of those development rights. So we do have a process. Everything has a process. So as we would go through that, obviously all this information would come back to you as the acquisition, the purchase and sale agreement, the assignment of the development rights, all of this would come back to you. But the question comes about where does all this stuff go? So it goes into the bank. And when we say a bank, it's a cloud. It's a cloud. It's a spreadsheet actually of how we keep track of all this information. So those development rights go in perpetuity. So you, as the town council, you have those rights and you own them. And we've been extinguishing those rights throughout the years. And that has been one of your strategic action items, is to make sure to acquire rights when you can. And I think that this is an opportunity to take these rights off the table. So 162 acres of general commercial would give you a development that's a 1.6 million square foot retail development. So between that and then 260 dwelling units, that's a large apartment complex. And of course, we all know what 150 unit hotels would look like. So I just pulled a couple of other numbers. So as of October 18th of 2023, the development bank that we have right now, there's a total of 1,084 residential dwelling units, 119,000 square feet of commercial, and then the 3.56 acres of general commercial. Now you'll see two different, you have one that's square footage and one is acreage. So different PUDs had different ways that they counted commercial rights. So our Kent Estates, which has since been extinguished, that was out on 170, they had rights based off of square footage, whereas like in Buckwalter, we have it based on acreage.
Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Before you go further, it's hard for me to recall, some of the RDUs that were in the bank belonged to Palmetto Bluff. Have they moved all of those, or there's still some sitting there?
There's still some sitting there? No. They've moved them all.
Okay, so they've utilized theirs?
Yes.
Okay.
They had the right to. They had the right to.
No, I know, but I just want to be sure that they weren't still sitting in the bank.
Correct.
Right.
All the RDUs are in the bank are owned by the town?
Yes.
All of everything?
Yes.
That's
Yes. Also, I think a question came about of conversions, specifically for the Buckwalter PUD. There was a conversion factor. However, it's been met, so there's no more conversion of either residential to commercial or commercial to residential. So that is no longer allowed.
Anywhere in the Buckwalter PUD?
In the Buckwalter PUD, yes, sir. So the next item we were going to talk about is the land swap. And this is where it gets a little complicated, so I'm going to try to break this down, and then if you have questions, please feel free to stop me. So when they reached out to us to talk about the sale of those rights and the potential land swap for a new site here, we talked about an area up on 278. It wasn't really known exactly what that would look like. So as we were going through this, we worked on an MOU, which we had brought to you previously, and it kind of outlines like we're going to do this and you do that. So part of that is that new facilities for the public schools that we would look to swap that land that we need. The school district wants to try to stay away from 278. They don't like to have schools out on the main road. So it was advantageous for them to have their school further back into the site, while it's more advantageous for us to have our site up closer to 278. So the exchange, some of the things that we're looking at doing is the 19.75 acre property, which I have highlighted here in green, for another site of approximately 10 acres on the northern boundary. And that's why I just have more squiggly lines of blue than anything else. It's not 100% defined. The other item was they've asked that we terminate the easement that's currently through Willow Run to our property. So that's that orange line. That's on the plats right now. That gives us the ability to get back to our property by vehicle, by walking, whatever it is. We have that right to get back there. So what they're asking is that we can terminate that, obviously, because if we do a land swap, we don't need to get back to the back of the property anymore. Or if for some reason that if things are changed, that we could adjust it as needed. So, and then also, and I have another slide here in a minute for you to talk about, we kind of worked through some capacity studies just to see what could happen and how much space would we need for those things to happen. So bear with me and I'll show you here in a second. The next one was for Beaufort County. So part of that is they would retain a one-time option to repurchase properties, the development rights at a cost of the $14,432 per square foot in the case that they don't develop the site. So again, right now, the school district, they want to purchase it. Yes, sir.
Per square foot.
Per acre.
Per acre. If I said square foot, I apologize. Per acre. Yes, sir. Thank you. So in the event that the school district, let's say, they have this total acreage and they've come to realize after a couple of years, because they're government, they're kind of slow, that they've decided that they don't need that entire area. They've decided that we've found another location that's more appropriate for a school. We might only use this for ball fields of any sort. I don't know what that would be. And we would want to then have the opportunity to buy back some of those rights and then potentially sell them to use on that property. So they would sell off the land, because you have to remember, land and rights are separate things. You don't automatically get rights with a piece of land. So you have to have your development rights to go with a piece of land. You could potentially purchase a piece of property that doesn't have any development rights. Then you would have to go out to acquire rights from someone else that already owns them in order to develop the site. So that's one of the items that they have in there. However, it's memorialized that it'd only be available after 5 years of it being recorded, and then it expires 25 years after it's recorded. So they got a window of 20 years to be able to do it, and they got one shot. That's it. So they got one time to come in here to be able to do that. And during this entire process, if they decide to move forward with that, all of that comes back to you for review and approval prior to anything happening. So just to make sure, it's not like it's like it happens and you guys don't know about it. It would have to come back in front of town council to be voted on.
Kevin, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
If the school district did come back and buy any of those development rights, does that have to, do those rights have to remain in that Willow Run track?
My understanding is that when we go to draft the contract, we will have that clause in there, that it will stay in that Willow Run track.
So it cannot be used anywhere else?
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
the 14,432, where did that number come from?
I do not know.
because I couldn't figure that out. I looked at it, I looked at the 2.5 million, and then I multiplied that time the acreage, and I think I came up like 14 million something, about 100,000 less than the, excuse me, not 14 million, about 100,000 less than the 2.5 million. I just was curious how we derived at that number.
Well, we'll look into, I'll research and find out how we came up with that.
And I don't understand either, Kevin, because development rights so much per acre, but how would that determine what they could build or how much they could build? It would just fall right back into the Buckwalter PUD as far as what's allowed?
Use-wise, yes. It's still, the planning tract that Willow Run is in is called it's called Buckwalter Commons Planning Tract. And that's the most permissive, meaning that's the most allowed uses. So if they were to go back, typically you would think of just, we refer to like general retail, your big box stores, your retail stores, personal services, things like that. That's the type of uses that most likely would occur. Includes office spaces, medical office, that on those routes. We determined that for 1 acre of development rights, typically you're going to get about 10,000 square feet of heated square footage for a building. Meaning that by the time you put the 10,000 square foot square, and then if you have a 1 acre square, you put that 10,000 square foot building on there, the parking that you have to have on there, the stormwater that you have to have on there, all that starts to fill up that box, that 1 acre box. And that's about how much acreage you can get out of that 1 square foot, or the 1 acre.
We know what their intentions are, but like you're saying, if something unforeseen happened and they don't go through with what we think they're going to do, and so they get the development rights back at this price, they can't exceed what's already allowed there now, can they?
Meaning, could someone
2
acquire
hotels,
additional?
right, the 2 hotels, the 260 RDUs, et cetera, et cetera. That's what's on the books today that exists for the Willow Run Buckwalter tract. They can't exceed that number, is that correct?
No, that's what they currently own. Now, hypothetically, let's say that school district purchases, we get the rights. School district, a few years down the road, they have come in and said, we want to purchase back 100 acres of those rights. That all happens. That 100 acres of development rights, depending on how they carve up to sell off that property, because the school district owns it at that point, to sell it to whomever would then develop it. If they, let's say they had their acreage, they needed some more rights, they could acquire additional rights from someone else that still has them, and you can apply them to that property. They just can't, they're not getting anything else from the town. So like the hotels and the residential, that's gone. Like that's not part of that ability for them to that one-time purchase. So that one-time purchase is just for the general commercial acreage. Now, let's say, again, you come back, they carve it off, they sell it off, they get the commercial rights, and then they acquire, residential units from somewhere else. They could come in and apply that. Now, you also have to remember that if this were to happen, number one is it's going to come back in front of you in order for that to go through. Number two, they would have to come back in with a master plan, which would go through the process of planning commission and ultimately town council. So at that time, we would know if they were bringing additional rights in. But only speculating at this point. I couldn't tell you exactly.
It's interesting that number of 14,432 per acre would be even on there due to not saying whether this could be 19 years from now.
Correct.
And what is $14,000 19 years from now? About 5 nickels probably.
And if I could, so this is the workshop. So please note that there was a memorandum of understanding. This still has to go through the entire process, and I'll show you kind of next steps here in a few minutes. But this is the feedback that we're looking for. So if if you have concerns about, the ability for these rights to move around somewhere else, you have, concerns about, additional rights coming in, those are all things that we want to hear from you. That gives us guidance as we're moving through this process in order to draw up the development agreement amendment, the whereases and the recitals. All of this information you're providing today is what we're going to use to assist us moving forward and ultimately bringing it back to you again for a review and approval.
So I would like to, just as a note here, it's my opinion that I would like, as we move forward, for us to have first refusal on any properties that they decided they don't need for ball fields and schools or whatever, so that we could possibly buy that back from them in the future. Not saying we have to or we're going to, but so that we could have first refusal to prevent the other development from going in if we want to.
Great.
And I want to go back. I don't personally, I'm just in one voice, obviously. What they are allowed to have today, I don't want them to be able to exceed that on the Willow Run track. If for some reason, I understand why, we all understand, you can buy a piece of property and things just don't work out the way you hope they would. It happens every day. But I don't want them to be able to exceed the rights that they have associated as they stand today to a greater number years from now.
Right.
Okay.
And to the mayor's point, the number we spoke about, I think there has to be a clause to deal with the inflation aspect of it, because you're right, after 19 or 20 years, that number becomes minuscule.
It already says that in the document. Sorry.
What's that?
It's included, CPI is included in there.
I couldn't hear you.
Adjustments for CPI are included in the MOU right now.
Thank you.
Anything else on this slide? Okay, I'll keep moving on. All right, so we talked about capacity studies. We perform capacity studies. The school district, they performed a capacity study. And what that does is it actually helps you to determine, is this site suitable for what we need to do? I've seen a capacity study where they literally just plop down a K-8, their parking lot and some ball fields, like, will this fit? Yes or no? So we did the same thing here. And with part of that land swap was we needed to determine how much space would we need if we decided to move forward with an affordable housing project. Again, this is conceptual. This is not meant to determine what is being built, anything. So just an opportunity for us for talking points. So you can see here, we came through with some area that would potentially be for affordable housing from a multifamily standpoint. Also, a smaller affordable housing multifamily component and potential for a performing arts center. So just to see, if we were to do a performing arts center, what would that look like? And I believe Stephen chose the size of this site was from Greenville.
The one they have in Spartanburg, the Chapman Culture, and we also used Hilton Heads as an example as well.
Yes. So we used, real life examples to determine the size of a building and then the appropriate amount of parking that would be needed for that. So what this does is it gives us the opportunity to say, yes, we feel confident in that acreage that we're looking at specifically for that multifamily that would fit on this site. So a couple of things that the town will be doing. So from reasonable effort standpoint, and we talked about that relocatable easement here. So we would coordinate with the owners of the Mooney track, which is adjacent to the Willow Run track, to establish the recorded easement for that north-south connector through the Mooney track with a connection point to the Indian Hill property as determined by the district. So what that means is that right now that easement is relocatable, meaning it can be moved. So our goal is to let's go ahead and establish where that easement is going to be located through the Mooney tract. And then the school district, as they move forward, would then determine where their connection point is through Willow Run track and ultimately up to 278. So what that does is we start to establish where we're going to lay this road down. So that relocatable easement, as we have it shown on the plat there, we would work through that 9th Amendment, the Section 11, and I'll show you here in just a second, to make sure that we get the connection point accurate. Also with that, with the amendment to the development agreement concept plan, there are current obligations for Indian Hill property related to the construction of the north-south connector road, is to be able to adjust some of the language that we have in here. I don't expect you to sit here and read this information. I did put it up here just to show that this is the section of the 9th Amendment on Section 11 that we would be taking some of the information out and adjusting it based on as we're moving forward. So with that is the obligations, as we talked about in phase 1 and phase 2 of that construction. We would amend those terms of the construction obligations as the Indian Hills requirement for the phase construction, that phase 1 and 2. And then we would focus it on taking out some of the components of who's required to do what, where, when, and how. And this is what we came up with, is that upon the development of any portion of the school facilities, Beaufort County School District will design, engineer, develop, construct the north-south connector road from 278 to its connection point, where we said where the school would have their connection into that roadway, in compliance with all of our standards that we have. And then once it's complete, that portion of roadway, once it's complete, they would dedicate that to the town. So the town would then be the owner of that road that's coming from 278 through the Mooney track, not Beaufort County School District's driveway. Okay, so it's just the roadway, not the driveway. So again, that has a process. We would go through that and that would all come in front of you. But one of the clauses also is that the school district will design and engineer that connection or that roadway all the way down to the southern end of that Mooney track. But they'll only build they'll build the first third of it, but they'll design the rest of it. And then they give us the plans. That way we then own those design and engineered plans. So in the future, if we were to, because we've established the roadway and we've established that like where it's going to connect through Mooney down to the adjacent properties. So we would then own those engineered plans. So that way in the future, if we were to then construct a road, we've already passed a huge hurdle of the design and engineering component of it. And then the last was that the town, at its discretion, shall design and engineer, except those portions we just talked about, develop and construct the north-south connector road from its connection point with the Indian Hill track to the intersection of the future parkway. All of this would have to come in front of town council for approval through ordinances and then recorded with the Register of Deeds. So this evening, you started to talk about some of this information. So we have a couple questions. One was, does council desire to move forward with the proposed amendments to this development agreement concept plan? Are there any questions you may have of the revisions of the proposed, the potential land swap, the acquisition of the development rights, the construction of that new north-south connector road? And then are there any provisions or terms which you would be consider to add when preparing the applications for formal submittal? Obviously, we've got some of the comments that on the previous slide that would have been dealing with the land swap. The first right of refusal, not to exceed, as of today, the development rights. And then the clause on the number, on the amount of money, and then which we've already established, we do have the CPI associated with that. But if there's additional items that we have, we're happy to go through them. Also, and I can go back to that slide, but from kind of a next steps standpoint, where do we go from here? So as we take this information, we submit the applications. This would go in front of our review development committee, and I have slimmed this down a lot. There's a lot more steps internally that have to happen, but just from a high level, This would go to Development Review Committee for comments from a technical aspect. It would go to our Planning Commission as a workshop in order for an opportunity for the Planning Commission in an informal setting to go through this information. Then Planning Commission would hear it again at a public hearing and providing a recommendation that comes back to you for a first and second reading. Now, again, we have these dates listed here and they are subject to change. So,
Kevin, you did note that when I said first refusal on that clause of that?
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
I
that's
wasn't sure if
understood.
you mentioned that.
Yes,
I do
sir.
have some comments also, Kevin, in terms of considerations, going back to the capacity study and some of the ideas that were just proposed as conceptuals. If there's an opportunity to also look at a capacity study for potential sports complex uses in terms of maintenance under a town standpoint, knowing that we do have limited sporting facilities right now for our schools and students and different rec leagues to be able to take advantage of, whether it's more soccer fields, batting cages, whatever it is. I would like to see what that would look like on that. I think you called it out, the 10-acre allotment where the Performing Arts Center space was.
Okay.
And then the second thing, as all this is hypotheticals right now because nothing's been developed. We still got to go through master plans. But when that happens, I would like to say we definitely need to have some considerations of the connector piece and how we're engineering the road with the thought of if the school district does move forward and we have that there, that we build in road considerations, thinking of parent pickup lines and things like that and additional buildings to make it efficient for, whoever is occupying that space, especially if the town is taking ownership of that design, that we don't have roads that add to congestion of whatever is gonna.
Understood. And having multiple conversations with the school district on this property as well as other properties, that's a huge factor in their design. So that storage, the storage would be on what I refer to as their driveway. So it would not be on this north-south connector road. So that would actually be a free-flowing roadway, and that they would have to design from that point to the school the necessary stacking that they'd have to do. And it pushes it pretty far back, so the goal is that they would have ample stacking from the school, and it kind of would meander through in order to provide additional stacking. And I do know that sometimes, they'll do the double lanes and then we'll reduce down. So they are fully aware of that and make sure that they have plenty of stacking.
Right. I know we may not be the ultimate end all be all, but at least if we're in the conversation and talking, because sometimes these decisions happen in silos and then we're kind of stuck dealing with the ramifications of it. So it's just as long as we're able to be a voice in that conversation, knowing that we're going to have to live with whatever decisions are made.
I've sat in that line at Bluffton Middle School.
Oh, yeah. The one at Red Cedar
So I
Main
know.
River, they'll give you, you'll be there for a minute. Thank you.
Comments from Mr. Wood?
I have one more question, please. And I know we've touched on this before with council and the town manager. And so the state of South Carolina, the POTUS, I guess, decided that wetlands weren't necessarily the wetlands that we've all lived by for decades, generations. And so we were waiting for South Carolina to determine what standard they were going to have, to my knowledge, unless they've done so, how to recognize the wetlands, how they're going to address it. And so we've tried to come up with our own situation where we put a buffer around the wetlands from a development perspective to try to protect them somewhat. So what I'm asking, and you may not know the answer to this, Kevin, it may not be available to you. I'm just curious if the wetlands will change at all once this project starts to develop a little bit.
So, if I may, please. We actually just received
A wetlands delineation as of November 13th of this year, and it was updated. And I'm not sure the last time that it was updated, but it's been quite some time. There was an additional 0.5 acres of land that had been consumed by wetlands. So, wetlands are constantly changing. From a buffer standpoint, like the capacity studies that we've done, we've applied a 25-foot buffer around the wetlands. So just for the capacity study, some of the issues that you're thinking about is we're going through a resiliency study right now, which includes the wetlands, and I believe Kim is going to be talking more about that at the January workshop. So she'll definitely be able to give more insight as to kind of what we're doing and where we're going with that, and that'll definitely be helpful overall for development as we're moving forward, and obviously specifically for this one. But, the wetlands do change, but you have to, you pick a point in time when you go to develop. And obviously with all the stormwater measures that we have in place, our goal is to always not impact the wetlands. As you can see through the development that we've put up here, we didn't impact any of the wetlands. So we designed around them. You could go through the Corps of Engineers to fill those in previously. And it's kind of that no man's land right now, which we are trying to establish, but we're definitely putting 25-foot buffers around all of them.
Mayor, can I add
Go ahead.
So Kevin, just going back to what Councilman Wood asked, I think where he may be getting at is with the amendment, if we maybe defined that no construction could occur in the wetlands as defined by like the delineation of this date, could we do that as part of the development agreement amendment that we're putting in place to protect, and that would then kind of cover what Councilman Wood's saying is that we protect those wetlands that are in place currently?
I would like to look into that to give you an answer, definitely. We can see from a legal standpoint.
If I could, I don't mind just giving some background to what Council and Wood mentioned, and for those in the audience and listening, what he was alluding to was the Clean Protections Act, and we know in 2017, the SCOTUS and then President Trump repealed the federal protections that wetlands had, and those rights now exist with the individual states. State of South Carolina is now no longer DEC. Department of Agriculture has to now have that designation of what is wetland. So right now it's kind of open in the sense of those protections don't exist. And we're hoping with like home rule and other things that we can at least capture some type of jurisdiction and put in our own protections to say that, if we designated it as wetland, let's still make sure that they're protected and development doesn't happen. Right now, those rights are not defined because of that.
Yeah, I'm going to her point and to town manager's point, to boil it down, we need it, it's been said, we need it for protection, for resiliency and other issues, but also I don't want to see wetlands decline and upland grow.
Right.
A developmental land that doesn't exist today becomes developmental, unless they did remediation as required by the Corps or somebody.
Anything, Mr. Hamilton?
Yeah, I need to go back to, I'm not sure why we mentioned number 4 on section 8, Kevin. Town as a discretion shall design, engineer, except for those portions designed by the engineer by Beaufort County School District, develop and construct the north-south connector road and the connection point with the Indian Hill track to its intersection and the future Bluffton Parkway, phase 5B. Why are we suggesting that in this workshop?
That's part of the obligations. So that north-south connector road is obligated, you're obligated to build, whomever's obligated to build it. What we're asking in essence is to remove that obligation. And what it does is it alleviates, number one, it alleviates the school district from having to build this north-south connector road. Because right now, if they were to come in and they bought the property and they tried to develop a school there, they would be required to build that road from 278 all the way to the non-existent parkway.
And that's why nothing has been built in this whole area, is because of that stipulation that was put on there years ago.
Right.
2008 is when it was put on there. So
Which
what we're
does protect it
asking as
from
part of this process is we remove that requirement. We remove either the school district or the town, if we moved forward with anything, or whomever, they would be required to have to build that roadway because of Willow Run.
When would that have to be done, Kevin? Is that clear?
What's that?
The design and,
This for the school district?
no, it says where the town would design and
Engineer.
at its discretion shall design engineer except for those portions
Yes,
of design.
so that, it puts the decision to even build it with council.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at council's discretion. If they'll determine that it's not necessary, you don't have to design and build it. If it's not, if you decide that you do want to move forward with it, then at that point in time, we would, but it takes the requirement off of Willow Run and puts it at 100% at the council's discretion to determine whether they want to move forward with it or not.
So we want the bill. We want, it's gonna be at our expense.
If it's built, yes, sir.
Right now, it's anyone who owns Willow Run and they start to develop. And again, let me go back to that phasing plan where I talked about. Anyone that owns and wants to develop A or C, they have to build that entire road.
So right now, if the school district decided they want to build a school on parcel A, they would have to build that road even if there is no parkway there.
Yep. That's the way it's written.
I think we're just rewording the way it was said before. So it would be up to us. If there's never a 5B or never a reason to come that connector road, you know,
Then council
it
can
would
say
never,
not
it would never even be
exist.
needed.
Correct.
Let me ask you a question. If the school district sold it in the future, with the new landowner, it would still be, the town would still have to pay for that, even if it's
Great
developed
question.
like the commercial rights?
So as it's set up right now, there's no, once it's changed, it's done. Like there's no requirements.
So if in the
for them
future
to do
they
it.
sell it and
And
somebody develops
if they came back,
commercial-
sold it and did that, then that person's not obligated to build that north-south
Phase
connector
two.
road.
But that is something that,
If
with
you
council's
wish.
input, we can add into.
We can add that in.
It's limited to the school
Yeah.
district. If they sell it, that the new developer would then have to build that.
Take that
phase.
liability back on, yes.
That would probably be smart. I would
Yeah,
think.
that's good.
Yeah, I think that would be fair and smart. Anything, Ms. Burden?
I agree with Councilwoman Frazier that I would like to see a capacity study to include the sports fields. To go back to that capacity study page, the baseball diamonds, that was not part of the town. Am I correct that that was on the count?
You are correct, yes.
Okay,
That is.
that's the school district's capacity
That
study.
was taken, literally taken from the image that was provided to us. And again, that's just, they wanted to see how many fields could we put up in this area that's out of the wetlands? So
just confirming that. And
Those
then if we-
fields, I'm sorry, those fields are not associated with the capacity study that we looked at.
So you didn't draw that, Kevin?
We did not draw the fields, no.
And then if the town did choose to do affordable housing in that new potential property, would town employees be given priority on that affordable housing?
Well, the way that the MOU is set up, it's actually for Beaufort County School District employees. So they would get the opportunity to be able to purchase that. So, yeah, as an option. It's meant to say that as we were moving forward through a process, however we did it, we would reach out to the school district and say, hey, we have an affordable housing project and we're coming to you to let you know. And then as you know, individuals are coming in, they would have an opportunity to look to purchase, or I'm sorry, not purchase, but rent. Yes.
Thank you. I mean, this was a lot of work and very complicated. You did a great job with
thank
this
you.
and explaining it tonight. You know, I'm in favor of moving forward because I think it takes a significant amount of development rights off the books, the two hotels, 260 residential and over 1.6 million square feet of commercial. And that is definitely a goal of mine, and I think the rest of council. So definitely in favor of that. It provides more schools, which we badly need in this area, and potentially might also provide more affordable housing and hopefully ball fields.
Yes.
Yeah, great job, Kevin. I'm hoping that some of the audience that had questions may have gotten some of their answers through all this. I just want to make it very clear one more time. I've said this multiple times. Council, my wish, desire, or whatever in council is to slow residential growth and purchase property that we can purchase and preserve for future generations. If there's nothing done on it and it stays wooded, it doesn't matter. If we wanted to build a park and swing sets and playground or something like that for our kids or a ball field, we could. So our mission or our goal, or it has been here for a few years as far as I'm concerned, is to eliminate some of those some of these areas with tons of development rights already allocated to them. And this Willow Track is a great example. If we could take that much density and just overall development off of the map, I would feel accomplished and totally support it.
One question.
Just one quick one, I'll break the rules, but
What about lowering the commercial development? I mean, I think that the commercial is kind of getting out of hand.
well,
You're trying to grow residential, but what about commercial? And just one thing, he mentioned about buying the commercial rights from somebody else. Who are you talking about that they would buy them from? Would it be another developer? Or would it be from the town?
these are questions that we'll have to, write them all down and send them to us or call and we can, I gotta quit breaking the rules.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry. All right. Anything else for Kevin?
That is all I have. And if you think of anything else, please feel free to reach out to me. Happy to incorporate that. And as I said, we'll start working on this and then it will come back to you. Okay. Great. Thank you.
All right, up next we have a public hearing and final reading, consideration of ordinances related to certain property owned by Rose Kitty and Feral Gas, Inc., consisting of a total of 1.38 acres, more or less, located at 328, 330, and 332 Buck Island Road, and identified by Beaufort County Tax Map numbers R61003 0000160000 328 and 330 Buck Island Road, and 361003900018C 0000332 Buck Island Road. It's not funny. It's a lot of numbers. This is second and final reading, Mr. Kevin Icard.
Yes, sir. This is a public hearing, sir?
This is a public hearing. So first call for public comment on this agenda item, public hearing. Second call for public comment.
Just a question. We can wait till tomorrow and talk to the town, but I just had a question on the issue before. Because on the Ninth Amendment, I thought we were part of the Ninth Amendment. We can't talk. Okay. So I just talk to you tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Third and final call for public comment. Public comment is over. Now, Mr. Icard.
Yes, sir. There are no changes from first reading. So I do have two motions in front of you. You would need to vote on both of them. The first one is for the comprehensive plan, and the second one is for the zoning map amendment.
Okay. Any discussion or anything from council? Any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second. I move to
Haven't
approve.
made the motion.
I need to read it. I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, let's make the motion.
You didn't let me finish.
Any discussion?
Hold on, I'm gonna finish reading.
Haven't read the motion.
I move to approve an amendment to the Town of Bluffton Comprehensive Plan Blueprint Bluffton to amend the said properties from the future land use designation of suburban living to neighborhood center.
Second.
Where does this "and" come in, Kevin?
This is motion number one, so we need to
have
vote on
two
that?
separate motions?
Yes, sir.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. That's unanimous. And is there another motion?
I'll make this motion too. I move to approve an amendment to the Town of Bluffton official zoning map to rezone the subject properties from the residential general district to the light industrial district.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Up next, we have consideration of an amendment to the Town of Bluffton Comprehensive Plan Blueprint Bluffton.
That's it.
Huh?
Formal one.
What'd I do, flip?
Formal agenda. Number one.
I don't know if I...
Natalie,
I do have a bell.
bring it. Come Natalie, here come Natalie.
And I do have lights, but I figured it'd be very distracting.
There's no formal.
We already did?
Yeah, we
Oh, okay, that was the second part of that. Y'all have patience with me, it's been a long day. Now we go into formal agenda items, acceptance of the presentation of the Town of Bluffton fiscal year 2024 audit by Maudlin and Jenkins LLC. Miss Natalie?
Yes, and we have Mr. Trey Scott of Malden and Jenkins to present the audit. And I'd also like to take the opportunity to recognize the Finance Department leadership for all the efforts put into it and our appreciation. So, all right, Trey?
Thanks. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Certainly pleased to be here with you all this evening to discuss the results of the town's 2024 financial statement audit. Just kind of give you an idea of why I'm here, give you a quick introduction to Malden and Jenkins, go over our auditor's report, your compliance reports, and your financial statements really briefly. Go over some required communications and then answer any questions that you all may have. Really quickly about Malden and Jenkins, founded over 100 years ago. We serve over 725 governmental entities throughout the Southeast. Do that across 14 offices in 6 states, and the office that serves the town is our Savannah, Georgia office. But I think enough about us. I think of particular importance to you all is our audit opinion on your financial statements. I think, as you all know, the town is responsible for the financial statements themselves. It's our responsibility as your auditor to express opinions on the fairness of those financial statements based on our audit. And we do that by following generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. And I'm pleased to report to you all this evening that we were able to issue the town a clean, or what we call an unmodified opinion. And what that basically means is that your financial statements present fairly the financial position and the results of the town's operations as of June 30, 2024. And that's what you're looking for, is a clean opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that we can provide to you as your auditor. Also included in your financial statements are a couple of compliance reports. The first is our Yellow Book report. If we had any findings to report to you, that's where those would be. And we had no such findings. The other report is our single audit report. Anytime you spend more than $750,000 in federal grant monies, you're required to have a single audit of your major grant programs. And we were able to issue you all a clean opinion on compliance with that major grant program. So certainly good things to report to you as far as clean opinions are concerned. I think, as you all know, but in case you don't, you all go above and beyond the minimum required reporting of a local government. You present what's called an Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, or ACFR. And it has a couple of additional sections in it, an introductory section and 10 years of statistical information. And it's submitted to this certificate program that GFOA does every year, and you all have received that certificate for 16 consecutive years. So that's certainly something I think definitely the finance department should be proud of and are commended for. I think something that you all should be very proud of as well. Moving on from all of that, talk really quickly about the numbers themselves. In your ACFR, you have two sets of financial statements. You have a government-wide set of financial statements, which takes all of your funds, rolls everything up into one column, gives you that big picture view of the town at June 3rd for the fiscal year 2024. And that's what you're seeing. Those numbers that you're looking at right now are your government-wide numbers. So all of your funds rolled up together. And the two, I guess, bullets that I would draw your attention to are the bottom two, your net position. That's not the cash you have available to spend. That's just the difference between your assets and your liabilities. And so your assets exceeded your liabilities by about $96 million. That's certainly a good place to be. And you've increased that net position. So your revenues exceeded your expenses across, again, all of your funds, that big global view by about $17.6 million. One of the more common questions I get is how healthy are we as a town? And an audit's not designed to tell you how healthy you are, but there are certain places you can look to kind of gauge that health. One of the places I like to look, are we continuing to reinvest in the town? Or are we allowing our capital asset base to age? And what this graph shows you, it's a very good trend. You're trending up. You're continuing to reinvest in the town. That's pretty healthy, a healthy looking 5-year comparison of your capital asset activity. Moving on from the government-wide statements, remember I said you had two sets. You've got fund level financial information as well, and more specifically your general fund. It's typically the big sibling fund of a local government. And again, just a bunch of numbers on a page, but the ones I want to draw your attention to, your fund balance, obviously your assets exceeded your liabilities there. And again, that's not the cash you have available to spend, just the difference between your assets and your liabilities. And then we were talking about health a moment ago. The bottom two bullet points, you have about 8.5 months of expenditures in fund balance. That's a great place to be as a June 30 year end. So it's a good, healthy looking amount of expenditures in unassigned fund balance. And then I also like to look at liquidity. So how many times could you pay your invoices that are due or your payroll that's going to come due? So your current liabilities, how many times could you pay those with the current assets you have on hand? You could have done that almost 3 times. So that's a good liquid position as well. And this is a great looking graph. It's just great trends as it relates to revenues and your unrestricted fund balance, going from that low in 2020 of the COVID year all the way up to, a shade under 30 million in revenues for the general fund in fiscal year 2024. So no concern as it relates to, how you're trending in the general fund. Moving on from the numbers, again, as I mentioned, a clean opinion, no audit findings, no management letter comments. I think that's something that the finance department, it's a testament to the hard work that they do. Certainly something I think they should be commended for, and I think something you all should be very proud of as governance. The accounting policies, your judgments, your accounting estimates, your disclosures, all of those are integral parts of your financial statements and are the responsibility of management. We had no difficulties or disagreements in the performance of our audit. Management's very professional, gives what we need when we need it. That's very refreshing from our standpoint as your auditor. No uncorrected misstatements, and then just want to make sure you all are aware that we're independent of the town in accordance with all of the applicable standards of our profession. And then just some final information, got some new standards that are coming out. These shouldn't have a significant impact on you. If they do, we'll work with the finance department on the best course of action for implementation of those. And that pretty much concludes what I wanted to report to you all this evening. It's certainly been a pleasure to serve the town, and we look forward to serving you all in the future. If you have any questions, be happy to answer.
From council, Bridget, Dan. Excuse me. You said at 8.5 months unassigned fund balance. What is a good place to be? What's a good standard? Should we go higher, or are we good where we are?
I think you're good where you are. I mean, I certainly wouldn't go any lower. And you could. It's all kind of dependent upon your revenue streams as well. When are those big revenues coming in? Property tax driven government, all that's coming in November and December, which is why I said if you're a June 30 year in, you're a property tax, driven revenue based entity, then, you can make it until, with that 8.5 months, you can make it until November, December when we're collecting property taxes again. So GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, recommends 2 to 4 months based on your fiscal year end. You all being in June, I mean, 8.5 is great. So,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
Mr. Hamilton?
Have you offered our finance department any pointers on how we might be even better than we are?
If we ran across any kind of deficiencies in controls or improvements, we would report those to you either as a management letter comment, but we did not have any this year, no, sir.
So we can't do any better than we're doing?
You probably could, but we didn't find anything that would lead us to believe that, we needed to make it a formal comment. And we had nothing to report this year.
Thank you.
Great job to Natalie and the entire finance department on such a clean report.
Yes. Thank you. If nothing else, just congratulations, Natty, and your team. Y'all are doing a great job, and keep up the good work. Don't listen to Chris.
Maybe she'll get an orange jacket one day.
Yeah, we'll get you an orange jacket, or whatever color that is. Okay, where are we at now? Next is the fun part. Consideration of accommodation tax advisory committee funding recommendations for quarter ending September 30th. Ms. Natalie?
Okay, good evening again. We have the ATAC applications for quarter ending June 30th of 2024. There were 6 applicants, a total requested amount just shy of $200,000, and ATAC has recommended $193,056. Currently, the town has available just shy of $700,000 available for distribution. And I'd like to make note that this is the first quarter where the 15% of the state aid tax is being deducted from the quarterly distribution. Just a quick note. This is a summary of the applicants, what was requested and what is recommended, as well as their scoring. And then I'm happy to answer any questions as we go along. This is the farmer's market. They are requesting $55,300. This is the same request as last fiscal year. This is for the 2025 markets.
You want to let's just go through each one and vote as we go, or do we?
Yes.
That's what we need to do,
Yep.
right? Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you.
That's okay.
Is there any questions from council? Any communication, anything?
I had one.
Go ahead.
The scoring sheets, which were great, a couple of the applicants had a category called miscellaneous, but
Yes.
everyone did not have that miscellaneous category.
Correct.
So I was trying to understand
So-
how that works.
Sure. An example might be with SOBA. They aren't necessarily hosting an event,
Right.
which has separate categories on the scoring sheet, and that's where the miscellaneous would come in to fill in that gap.
Got you.
Thank you.
No more questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant the Farmers Market of Bluffton $55,300 in support of the 2025 market expenses as presented in the staff report breakdown.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
The next applicant is the New Bluffton Worship. This is for Christmas Under the Stars that is scheduled for December 24th at Oyster Factory Park. They did request $28,810. ATAC is recommending $25,100.
This is a one-day event?
Yes, that is correct.
One day event requires $28,000. What are they having?
I'm sorry?
What are they?
Service,
Huh?
Christmas Eve?
They having church?
It's a Christmas Under the Stars, yes.
And last year, I think I saw, was it 1,500 people?
Yeah, it is a well-attended event.
Huh?
That it is a well-attended event.
I thought I read in the report or application.
I didn't read the report on this one, but can you help me understand how they're spending $28,000?
Sure. The majority of it is for advertising and promotion. So they are putting ads in newspapers, magazines, postcards, mailers, social media, and then they'll also have signs and banners. And then there's also a portion that is, I'm sorry, that wasn't the largest portion. The largest portion is for rentals, for tents, chairs, those types of things to put the event on.
Staging, audio equipment.
Correct.
Natalie, and I've heard great things about it. I've not had the opportunity to attend, maybe this year, but, so last year, what did they receive?
Last year, they received $15,200, I believe.
Okay, and how much of that, to Councilman Hamilton's point, I think, how much of that was to promote advertising?
I will have to get that number for you. I don't know the breakdown specifically. I know that we reimbursed them just over $9,000 of the awarded amount. So there was some of the award that went back into fund balance.
The reason I ask, I think I'm fine with this myself personally, but I think we take a better look at that the next go around, because if you've got 1,500 people showing up, you don't need a whole lot of advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Just my thoughts.
But I think too, the considerations are given to, you can't guarantee how many folks are gonna come to your event, but you have to spend in advertising to at least court those individuals. So whether you're getting a radio ad, whether you're doing advertisement in like local media spaces, if you're doing like geofencing, digital print, whatever it is, those costs add up because the whole purpose of ATAC is you have to be marketing to, a tourism thing. So the days of like, excuse me, doing promotion like at a church newsletter, what have you, wouldn't count for ATAC. So people are having to spend more to be able to attract or draw those crowds. So I think if you're able to look into the report and kind of see what avenues they're going into in terms of that promotion, you'd be able to see like those dollar breakdowns, because they have to report like where the ad's being placed, how it's running, the amount that's being spent for that daily run, how much impressions are being received and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was talking to someone about this the other day, and I'm always a little different. I was just wondering, like, the people are supposed to be coming from over 50 miles out, right, to be considered tourist?
A visitor.
A visitor. Christmas Eve, I couldn't imagine driving 50 miles. Personally, I wouldn't. I would probably have too many, which I've got a bunch of kids and grandkids, and Christmas Eve is actually my anniversary as well. So I couldn't imagine that many people traveling very far to come to an event on Christmas Eve. But that's just something we can look at later.
That's not the
got a
definition
question?
anymore though of a tourist or ATAC.
There's an opened, definition where it is anybody who takes a trip away from their residence and not for work out of their jurisdiction is considered a tourist.
Where's jurisdiction?
So if somebody lives on Hilton Head, but they want to come over to the Bluffton Farmers Market, those can be included because they're not traveling here to work, they're traveling here to.
For that event. So coming from Savannah, Beaufort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I just remember that used to be one of the factors.
Yeah.
So I did pull up their application from last year, and the difference is in the rentals, because last year they only had 5,280 for rentals, and this year it's 14,1. So my guess is, they're going bigger for stage or sound equipment and that kind of stuff than what they did last year. But the advertisement for last year was 10,000, and this year it's 11,000, so it's similar to what they did for last year. And they were awarded 15,280 last year. Just based on the questions, I just wanted to pull that
Any
up.
more questions from council, anyone?
No, but I do appreciate the healthy discussion. Thank y'all.
Is there a motion?
Mayor, I'll make the motion. I make a motion to grant the New Bluffton Worship $25,100 in support of the Christmas Eve Under the Stars as presented in the staff report breakdown.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous.
Okay, the next applicant is Society of Bluffton Artists. They are requesting $27,000 in support of getting the word out. This request is from January to August to better align with their fiscal year, which starts on September 1st.
Any questions from council?
So is this like what, are there options, do they have an option to come back for more from January to August?
They can apply, but with this, they are requesting funding through August of 2025.
So this is like a half a year.
A little bit more, but yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Any questions, conversation? Is there a motion?
I make a
To
motion.
grant the Society of Bluffton Artists $27,000 in support of getting the word out project as presented in the staff report breakdown.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Okay, next is Congregation Beth Yam. They are requesting $2,980 in support of the second annual Bluffton Hanukkah celebration. This will be held on December 29th at Martin Family Park. ATAC is recommending $2,830.
Is there questions about this one? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion to grant the Congregation Beth Yam $2,830 in support of the second annual Bluffton Hanukkah celebration project as presented in the staff report breakdown.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
And now we have the Historic Bluffton Foundation. They are requesting $40,000 in support of the Hayward House Museum operations. This is for support from January to March of 2025. Currently, they have been awarded $80,000 for Welcome Center expenses, with the anticipation of the Welcome Center now moving over to Squire Pope in January. This request is for the Hayward House Museum operations.
Yes, I do have a question. So this particular request brings me back to discussion that we had, I know about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that they are supposed to be making a plan to become more self-sufficient and sustainable as we will have a Welcome Center opening. So we were cutting operational expenses. I'm curious to know to date, Natalie, how much has the now Historic Bluffton Foundation, but formerly Hayward House, receive from ATAC or from the town of Bluffton in terms of operational funds?
Okay, so we took a look at when ATAC was formed with the town, and so going back to fiscal year 2008, the town has awarded it's $2,486,861. But that's almost 17 and a half years.
Gotcha. And in addition to the $2.5 million they may have gotten from us, as we see here, there's almost $250,000 grant awarded from SC Park. So we know they have been eligible for outside grant funding from other entities as well. My concern is that if we initially made a consensus to enable them and encourage them to become more self-sufficient and sustainable, I don't think we should be backtracking in terms of providing operational expenses, because it makes me question in the sense of, are they not completely independent? And is us funding them in this manner making them more dependent, which would be adverse to what we've been voicing for the past few years of our expectations of them? Because the request here is solely for operations. Their ATAC request tonight, the 40,000 is for operational expenses.
That's what was in their application, yes.
That's it for me.
So what did we award them last year? Do you know?
Last year, their award was 150,000
They were the operation, for operation only?
to serve as the town's welcome center.
They were the welcome center.
That's different.
Correct.
That's different,
Correct.
so we need to separate the
The
difference.
reason I'm asking to follow up on Councilwoman Frazier's question, and yes, these discussions have been going on for years. So if we do award the 40,000, that's 120, and you just said the number from last year was what?
150,000.
150, and then I'm assuming they'll come back another quarter,
Potentially.
potentially. So I, for one, if they do come back, then they're hitting the same amount of dollars they would be hitting, or they received when they were the Welcome Center, and they're not going to be the Welcome Center this coming year. I may could go with this, but I would be inclined for the town manager to let them know that we might not be so receptive going forward. Because to her point, I don't see where they're doing what they need to do. So,
We have tasked the town manager to do this before. Have you done that, Stephen?
I did meet with the director and told him that one of the things that we would be willing to consider moving forward only was for the docents, because they provide the docents for the Garvin Garvey House, and I was unsure, at least for this quarter or for the rest of this fiscal year, was just for the docents, because I was unsure whether we would be able to have docents hired, trained, and ready to operate when the Welcome Center opened in January. And in doing so, they were supposed to come back to us and have like a memorandum of understanding on when they were going to operate, what we were going to do, and they've done none of that. So the only thing they have heard from me that we would be willing to work with them on would be for the docents at the Garvin Garvey House for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Okay.
But not for their operations or the director's salary.
Okay, doses is another concern, Stephen. If there are doses that's already trained and the Hayward House is not going to be using those trained people, why can't we use them?
Well, we would need to onboard them and hire them and all that. So I wanted to make sure we were able to, I was unsure whether we'd be able to have that done in time for January. So that's where I spoke to them about whether we could continue forward through the rest of the fiscal year with them on that, and then take it from July 1st for us to do the docents moving forward. However, again, I told them to reach back out to me. We'd put an agreement in place, and that has not happened. So if they aren't going to do if we don't have that agreement in place, then we'll move forward with getting the docents in line.
Another question on that. So to the point of the docents, do we know what that dollar amount is in terms of what is that quarterly or annually spend on docents, to understand if this 40,000 is reflective of that, or is this 40,000 more so just going back into their general operational and director salary expenses?
And that's what I was waiting for them to provide to me, and they have
And
not
that's what
done
they
so at
failed to
this time.
provide.
Yes,
Got
ma'am.
you.
Mayor, may I make another observation?
Certainly.
I want to be clear, so I'm not misinterpreted. I don't want to be punitive towards the Historic Bluffton Foundation. I mean, it's like whether it's the May River Theater or the Farmers Market or, all these things we spoke to earlier, we are trying to find ways to help them succeed. We've always wanted to help the Historic Bluffton Foundation succeed, but we've also given them some criteria from our perspective to help them, succeed. And so I guess all I'm really trying to say is I'm open to support them to some measures. I don't want to cut off everything at all. I think they're as deserving as any of these others, but not at the same level of funding that they were receiving when they were the Welcome Center. And I think council has made that very clear. So at some place, maybe the town manager in his discussions with them comes to a happy median where he can report back to the council and say, we think this is a reasonable number to support them with going forward throughout the year, where I don't want to cut their legs out from under them and watch them fail. That would be detrimental to our whole community, but not support them at the level that they're used to.
To your point, Councilman, we're not punishing them and they're not being cut off because we've all voted unanimously for them to receive $80,000 in expenses to date. This fiscal year, the issue is on the $40,000 for operations. I think the concern going forward, especially as we've reallocated the difference between state and local ATAC, is if we are setting a precedent for our cultural spaces to be self-sufficient, and we want them to continue, because they're going to continue to be eligible for marketing, any type of events they do. The Historic Bluffton Foundation would still have access to the same ATAC process. It's just not the dependency on operations. Because if we were to now open up, I think, that pathway for any organization to have that same designation, we would undermine and cut funding from our tourism events that are going on, in the sense of like the Christmas parade that was, or Christmas event that's happening with Bluffton Worship, or the farmers market. If each entity is able to come and get operational support, that's just something that we have to be cautious of, to say that we're going to support your other endeavors always, but to expect us to be the person that kind of finances your operational and salary expenses, I don't think that's something we should be encouraging.
I agree.
Point well made.
I agree.
Okay, well, there's a couple of things we can do here. We can just sort of table this request until we get more information, or we can approve this request with a message to come out as far as what we expect, what we, moving forward. It's up to council what y'all want to do. I mean, I could go either way on it. I hear everybody's comments loud and clear, and I don't want them to get in a bind with becoming, because I could personally probably see where a lot of people are going to come there just because of past advertising and literature and stuff saying that they are our Welcome Center. I'm sure they're probably going to be our send more people to our new Welcome Center once we open the doors in January than anything else we have in Bluffton. So I would be fine with helping them with the first quarter on this request, but we definitely need to sit down and do a contract of some type, or like we used to do, and get some kind of better understanding on what they can look forward to moving forward.
Isn't that what happened when this discussion first came up?
Yes.
Mayor, maybe we should table it and let the town manager have those discussions to see where everybody's head's at.
Whatever y'all decide. I mean,
Or table and have them submit what he asked for. If that was a contingency to know how we would move forward, then that request, it seems like that should be submitted so we know what direction we are going in.
well, my only
hold on a
concern
minute,
is
please.
January is less than 30 days.
Let's not table all of the money. Let's give them a portion of it so they can operate and then come back.
Make a recommendation.
20,000.
I can live with that.
I can live with that.
And they will have another quarter to apply to be able to come back for anything if they need to.
But you will have a discussion with them
Yes.
and make sure they're clear on what our mindset is.
I've had that discussion and I will have it again,
And you said that they have failed to come back and bring you what you asked for.
which is what the cost would be for the docents and to put together an agreement for them to be able to do that for the rest of the fiscal year.
So basically, that was a requirement that wasn't fulfilled, and this is where we are with it.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I make a motion to grant the Historical Bluffton Foundation $20,000 in support of the Hayward House Museum operation expense as presented in the staff report breakdown.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Okay, our last applicant is May River Theater. They are requesting $42,826 for the 2025 season. They have 5 main shows scheduled as well as 4 supporting 1 acts. And this, again, is for the 2025 season.
So this is the entire year.
That's correct.
Questions from council? Is there a motion? No, Bridget.
I make a motion to grant the May River Theater, Inc. $42,826 in support of advertising and promotion expenses for the 2025 season as presented in the staff report breakdown.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Up next, we have consideration and approval of amendments to the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances. Chapter 6, Business and Business Regulations, Article 3, Soliciting and Mobile Vending, Section 6-78, Approvals, Fees, and Taxes, Section 6-83, Fire Safety, Section 6-84, Violations and Penalties. Just a second and final reading, Mr. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. There are no changes from first reading. I do have a motion in front of you.
Questions from council? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motions, Mayor. I make a motion to approve the ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 6, Business and Businesses Regulations, Article 3, Soliciting and Mobile. Am I reading the right one?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Vending as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions from council? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you, Kevin. Now we go on to a consideration of approval of amendments to the Town of Bluffton Coordinate Ordinances, Chapter 6, Business License Regulations, Article 5, Short-Term Rental Units, Section 6-114, Application, Section 6-120, Violations and Penalties. Mr. Kevin.
No changes from first reading, and I have a motion in front of you.
Questions from council? Is there a motion?
Make the motion to approve the ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinance, Chapter 6, Businesses and Business Regulation, Article 5, Short-Term Rental Units as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Great, thank you.
Next, number 5, we have approval to authorize a construction contract to Atlantic Asphalt for Pathway Pedestrian Safety Improvements Site Development Project, Phase 2. Physical impact of $123,168.97. Pat Rooney.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight to present the construction contract for Atlantic Asphalt for Phase 2 of the Pathway and Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project. This project was originated from a sidewalk accessibility study that y'all approved back in 2021. We completed Phase 1 of this project in 2023, and that consisted of 13 intersection improvements along Godey Road. This new phase consists of 18 additional intersection improvements that are scattered throughout the historic district. This is a map of where these are located, the black dots on these. I don't know if you can read it, but that's where they're all located. They're scattered throughout the historic district. They go from the north end at Dr. Mellenchamp Road to the west end at Jennifer Court at Parker's, the south end from Oyster Factory Park all the way over to Brunin Road and Tabby Shell Road. Per your direction at the strategic plan a couple months back, we all have initiated some studies for planning design of numerous other pedestrian safety improvements, including flashing beacons at critical intersections throughout the town, speed bumps, speed limit reductions, and other traffic calming measures. That is underway in the planning and design phase, and that's something that will come to you at the budget workshop for fiscal year 26 to provide funding for implementation of some of those improvements in fiscal year 26. The scope of this project is pretty simple. It's a demolition and removal of existing non-compliant curb ramps, and then the installation of new curb ramps, new detectable warning surfaces, pavement markings, and signage to meet ADA accessible standards. So the next steps, first of all, I want to let you know that this was bid publicly. We received several bids, and the low bidder was Atlantic Asphalt. So we did follow the Town of Bluffton procurement requirements for this. Next steps are following approval. Staff will submit the contract for signatures and schedule a pre-construction meeting. At that pre-construction meeting, we'll issue a notice to proceed. Tentatively, we plan to do that in January, and the project is pretty short duration. We think it'll be February, March before completion. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, there's a proposed motion on the screen.
From you, Ms. Bridget? Dano?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Fred? Motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve authorizing the town manager to enter into a contract with Atlantic Asphalt for the construction of Phase 2 of the Pathway Pedestrian and Safety Improvements Project for a total fiscal impact of $123,168.97, which includes a 20% contingency.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I need to ask a question. Stephen, we used to be a 10% contingency. Why and when did it change to 20%?
The 20% was changed probably about 2 years ago. Whenever we saw the cost start to go up post-COVID, we went up to a 20% contingency. So if it doesn't get spent, we will move it to other projects.
So we still in COVID?
No, sir, but we're still seeing the cost increase in place.
Okay, up next, number 6, we have consideration of an ordinance authorizing an economic development incentive agreement between the Town of Bluffton and Encompass Health. Mr. David Nelms.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good to see you. So I have two. This is the first of two we're going to go through tonight. You've gone through this 4 times already. A little bit of background. This is related to the economic development ordinance you passed in September of 2023. And we have certain targeted business organizations you're aware of: healthcare, pharmaceutical, mixed-use commercial, affordable housing, and corporate headquarters. Again, to remind you of the process, so applicants send us a letter of intent describing their project, what they're trying to do, where they're trying to do it, and how much they're going to invest. And they also have to fill out a South Carolina Department of Commerce economic impact worksheet. After that's submitted to Chris or me, we meet with these developers either in person or on the phone. This usually takes a number of interactions. And if it looks like it is a good thing for the Town of Bluffton, we run it through the town, staff review to look at the impact it would be on the town and what type of grant this would be. Staff makes a recommendation, and then I stand before you, or Chris stands before you in his fantastic orange jacket, and we ask you to consider that resolution. So again, the overview, and it's reminder, this is a reimbursement grant. So these monies are only paid out after these organizations have paid these funds. And so they would get reimbursed afterwards. But we will give them up to 50% of the fees for the development and the permitting, 100% of the capacity fees from Beaufort Jasper Water, up to 50% of the business license fees they pay to the town for up to 5 years, and any other incentives that may be necessary on a case-by-case basis. And the matrix we've come up with, and you've seen this before, is based on the number of jobs and/or minimum capital investment. There's a matrix that says, well, for this much, you should give this type of grant. So that's kind of the formulas we use. So this first one, Project Sable, is for Encompass Health. That is the facility, the existing facility. You can see the picture there. It's on 170, which is west of 278, near the Sun City entrance. They would like to do an 8,250 square foot expansion. So if you see the little yellow arrow pointing at the picture, it would be in that back area where there's no portion of the building. That building is currently shaped like a U. And then you see the little drawing there. The yellow area would be the area they would expand into. This is a 12-bed expansion, $11.3 million in investment. They would create 10 new jobs on year one, and by year 5, 30 new jobs with an average salary of $82,000 a year. Yes, sir.
Question, David. 11.3 million investment to put in 12 beds?
Yes, sir. It's a good industry to be in. I thought the same thing.
Nice mattresses.
It's $1 million a room. Yes, sir. Yeah, I thought the same thing. So average salary of $82,000 a year. Here's the projection staff ran based on the types of fees they would normally incur. And if you look at year one, on the left side, this would be the fees that the benefits they would get from those. You add them all up, and $88,786 in year one. And then we also run the business license fee out for 5 more years. So the 5-year estimated, this is an estimate, benefit for Encompass Health would be $96,420. However, at the same time, if you look at the net revenue side of $76,420, that's how much money the town would still receive in revenue from this project over a 5-year period. Again, these are estimates, but they fit all our matrices, and we think it's a good project that's worth consideration. Again, the terms, 8,250 square foot, 12-bed expansion of the existing facility. They would open operations by Q3 of 2026. And again, this is a reimbursement grant, and it would be paid annually on their opening anniversary. So we're not putting any money out of pocket until they've already put the money out themselves, and then we reimburse them. If there are no questions, again, this is first reading. If there are no questions, I do have a motion ready for you.
Can you go back 2 slides, please?
Yes, sir.
So you said that we would net 76,420.
Yes, sir.
But it would cost us 96,420.
That takes the 96 off.
Right.
So it would still come ahead 76,000 if they don't do it.
Right.
5 years would.
So the town will recognize $76,420 in revenue over 5 years from the permits, even though we're giving them a $96,000 grant. But we're also, after 5 years, going to have 30 jobs paying $82,000 a year and all the tax benefits on that as well. So,
Okay, thank you.
yes, sir.
Any discussion or questions for David? Is there a motion? Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve first reading of an ordinance authorizing the town manager to enter into an economic development grant agreement between the town of Bluffton and Encompass Health for Project Sable.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you, David. Next is consideration of order authorizing economic development incentive agreement between the town of Bluffton and CS Instruments USA, Inc. This is David again.
Yes, sir. So at the, save a little bit of time, I'm not going to give you the background on how we do all this again. Here are the high points related to this one. CS Instruments is an organization that makes machines for measuring compressed air. You know, someone has to, right? They work with SpaceX, Boeing, NASA, all types of companies. They have had 3 employees in the town of Bluffton since 2021 in a sales capacity, but now they found that would move their regional United States headquarters into Bluffton. In doing so, they would build a 11,000 square foot facility on Pinellas Drive. This would be a $3.6 million investment with 13 new jobs, again, with an average salary of $80,000. Again, here's the same matrix you saw in the past. You see in year 1, the amount of money that would be granted them provided this is approved. And over a 5-year total, they would recognize estimated $70,000 in benefits, and the net revenue to the town over that town would be $46,000. Again?
Put that back up there again now.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is included property tax.
This one does improve property tax. We have the ability to put things in and take things out based on what we need. We thought that since this was a corporate headquarters, it would be beneficial to entice them a little bit more. This is also a high-tech industry. It is also a well-respected company, and it's one of the types of industries we always wanted to recruit at the Don Ryan Center and through the Economic Development Organization. So this can also be taken off, but it is something we thought would make it a little more enticing for them.
So so being a headquarters, Dave, which I've already asked these questions, but so their sales,
Yes, sir.
are we going to see anything from, a company that's selling these expensive parts, or are they fixing these parts to do warranty work for machines, or, business license fees are pretty low on here, and that's normally done by, the amount of business, the amount of volume that you do. So what do we know about,
I don't think they're going to be, making these machines here, is my understanding. It's more of a management for the regional headquarters for the organization for the entire United States. So I imagine it may grow as far as employee base, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of service and manufacturing, if that's what you're asking.
So that they will, as Dave mentioned, they will continue their sales, so they'll be doing their U.S. sales based out of here, as well as they do the recalibration and maintenance of equipment that's currently at their partners' locations, factories and whatnot. So currently they have to ship those back to Germany. They get fixed or recalibrated, and they ship them back to the U.S., which created a long downtime. So they're looking for in the U.S. to do that. I did put out a question to them regarding U.S.-based revenue. The local CAO is traveling back in Germany for the holidays, so we should have that for you by the second reading.
How big was this building? Oh, 11,000.
It's 11,000 square feet.
And was it 13 employees?
13 employees, yes, ma'am. And they would open operations in July of 2025, so it's a pretty fast track.
Go back one more time.
They started construction?
How do you entice them to try to use Bluffton employees?
So, if I may. I had a conversation with them specifically about this question, and they said there really isn't a market for employees with the skill set because what they do is so specialized. So they hire local and train them, in what they do, just because there really isn't people that you can just pull from other places to do it. So they actually said that they would be hiring local employees to fill those positions.
Local employee, mean Bluffton employee or Savannah or?
Well, just within commuting distance, I would assume, but.
You know, as we do these, I would like for that to be at least a discussion to see if they'd be willing to employ local, just a local Bluffton address. That's not saying they have to, but I'd like to make sure they.
Yeah, we've always tried to push for that, you know.
Yeah, we encourage it, and that's why I asked the question, and I mentioned that as a priority of council. We can't put a legal restriction saying they have to, but we obviously bring that up whenever we have these conversations.
All right, one more question, David, for me, and I don't mean to be picking on you.
No.
I see over here where it says property tax is $60,000. Over here, I see where we get $6,000 a year for 5 years. How'd you get $60,000 coming in and?
So that's 50%, so the property taxes is estimated to be around $12,000 over 5 years.
But if you add the
So
first,
12,000 times.
we're giving them back, we're giving them half of the 12 that they originally pay, or how does that work with taxes? We don't get that at all, right? Or we get half of it?
No, so again, like David mentioned, these are reimbursement based. Essentially, we pay out the grant after the year is completed. So they would have paid the property taxes already, and then we'd be making a grant back to them in the equivalent of 50% of that. So they'd still pay the full property tax bill.
Give half of it back.
But yeah, we'd base the grant off of the 50%.
And this is the first time we've done the property tax?
No, the very first.
The very first.
Yeah, the very first incentive. And this was a similar situation as that. So in the first one that we offered, one of the concerns that the business owner developer had was around the additional fees, the impact fees that are required. Now we can't help that, but we can help with these other types of approaches. So.
Any more questions from council? Is there a motion?
Had it ready for you.
I'll make it. I'll make a motion to approve first reading of an ordinance authorizing the town manager to enter into an economic development grant agreement between the town of Bluffton and CS Instruments USA, Inc.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you,
Sir.
David.
Thank you, Council.
I got a question for Councilman Frazier. I just second your motion. Did I get that disease you got over there?
I mean, if I was able to pass it on, I would definitely give it to you, sir.
I'm trying not to look at her.
I'd love to.
We're gonna move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be removed? Or anything that anyone would like to discuss or remove at this time? Is there anything on the consent agenda that needs to? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to go home?
Before we leave, I do want to commend David. He is looking like Mr. GQ. He's challenging Fred.
You got me tonight.
I'm listening to a lot about the book.
You got me, David.
My wife told me to look how to be the best dressed man in the room, written by Mr. Fred Hamilton.